This bride
I can't wait to be a part of your family.
is here for the right reasons.
Your vows were beautiful.
But his family
Hide and seek.
is playing games.
Good luck.
On August 23rd,
Insane.
They think they have to kill you before sunrise.
I just saw her run.
Oh my God!
I gotta put on the game face. She's
Ready or Not, rated R.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
I mean, I didn't say we were good. I said we were recording. They're not exactly the same thing. But yeah, do you want to thank people for making your birthday nice?
I mean, for the most part.
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
all things considered, David.
Yeah.
I've been on probably the most ridiculous work deadline I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
I'm so tired. So stressed out. They sent pages in.
Mhm.
And of course, last minute, everything is like the last possible second they can get it to you, but it's also like the soonest you can possibly film is what they require.
Yeah.
And they mean well. But today we were doing the final breakdown on what we're shooting in like, I don't know, 5 days.
Yeah.
And it was just, there was just a scene missing. Like it just goes from 12 to 14. There's just no scene.
Yeah.
No scene 13.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God. So I checked, and sure enough, it wasn't in the original either. Not the one I rewrote, not anywhere.
Yeah.
So I had to message them and let them know. And thank God they got me another scene. It was their mistake.
Mhm.
But I was like, it's really hard to prep and stuff when,
Yeah.
I think what I resisted saying was don't worry, I could tell no one read this before they sent it to me.
I mean, that's got to be frustrating.
What's frustrating is that I'm editing what we shot a couple days ago while prepping the next thing.
Yeah.
And I'm only one person. So when a problem like that arises, I'm supposed to like perfectly handle it emotionally, not worry, not freak out, not consider that like the actors could be upset because they're not allowed to prepare properly, and just go back to sitting in the room and editing while I'm also simultaneously waiting for messages and waiting for this and waiting for that. It's kind of hard to do.
Yeah. I can see that.
To compartmentalize that much. So I'm not loving it. I'm not loving this week. My car's still not back. Apparently, there was a major issue with the installation, not with my car itself, but with the installation of the hybrid battery.
Yeah.
And no one told me though.
Shit.
Like if they had just told me, I would be like, oh shit, I guess it's going to take like 3 or 4 extra days.
Yeah.
That's all. And that's the worst part,
That's the second time though that no one's told you.
Well, no, sort of. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the same. They just haven't told me the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just found out what I wasn't told the first go.
Okay.
So it's the same thing holding it up.
I thought it was a pair of gloves last time.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
They're waiting on those gloves.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the issue is, from what I understand, that it's not able to be a one-man job.
Yeah.
Which is why they had to order more of these specialty high voltage gloves for handling hybrid batteries, because they only have one pair that they always have.
Gotcha.
So the problem was that somebody else couldn't assist in installation without risking getting electrocuted to death. And it's like an OSHA thing, OSHA guideline. Like you have to have these very specific high voltage gloves.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So I'm not even, the worst part is like, I feel like such a, like, I want to talk to your manager, but it's like, I'm not mad about how long it's taken.
Mad about the lack of communication.
I'm mad because I'd like to know what's going on so I
Yeah.
can make a plan. And I am a little mad because like, it's just hard to do all this work and have no car.
Yeah. No, I get that.
And there's just something about when it's like, it's going to cost a fortune and then it just takes forever.
Yeah. You paid the money and you still have to wait.
Well, I haven't paid it yet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they don't make you prepay, at least not in the mechanics I use.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but no, there was no prepay. I mean, I got pre-approved for financing,
Gotcha.
but I haven't done it yet.
For some reason, I thought you said you'd already paid.
I mean, I probably said that colloquially because when I saw you on Tuesday, I probably assumed I was getting it like the next day.
Yeah.
So I was probably just kind of speaking in advance a little bit by saying like, and I have to pay all this money.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's not like anything's going to change. So the latest promise is hopefully end of business tomorrow.
Okay.
The last promise was end of business Monday.
That's what I thought.
So
yeah.
that's two more days. So they'll have my car for almost 10 or 11 days at that point.
Nice.
But it's just a really a great frustrating cherry on top of a shit Sunday.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to I'm trying to power through all this stuff. And this project I'm doing right now, I was really excited to get ahead financially. And now I'm actually going to be behind of where I was because this is actually just going to pay for the car repair.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
I mean, at least it's taken care of, but yeah, that does suck.
Well, I mean, yes and no.
Yeah.
I feel better when I have the goddamn car.
Makes sense.
So I've just been, I've been burning the candle pretty hard. And, while I did enjoy rewatching the movie that we're going to talk about tonight, I was literally for the last 45 minutes of the movie, just doing deep in breaths and out breaths.
Mhm.
And it like barely helped. Like I'm like so wound up.
I mean, we can both apologize that we're probably not 100% on our A game this show, unfortunately.
Got to pick up the slack, Dave.
Yeah. My headspace right now is just kind of a bit all over the place, unfortunately. I had a good weekend. I took a long weekend off because as we're recording this, I've just basically got back to work today. I had Friday through Monday off for my birthday. I had a decent weekend. I'm not gonna go into it because it's not my business to share on here. But
That's family matter. Yeah.
family
of course.
matter. A very serious family matter, unfortunately, occurred Friday, and that kind of derailed the weekend. So while I enjoyed my time off, there's just a lot going on right now up in my brain. So I apologize if I seem a little off on this show. I'm going to do my best to power through it alongside you. So,
I mean, I'm used to working hurt. I don't know about you. Like that's, I love how I'll get like tired or frustrated or whatever. And then all of a sudden the wrestling school lingo comes right back in.
Yeah.
Working hurt. Yeah.
I will say I did get to watch a lot of good movies, not just what we're going to talk about we saw in theaters, but we had gone to one of our favorite shops and I had picked up the Arrow release of Hell High from 1989, which is a slasher film also known as Raging Fury. First time I watched it, pretty simple movie. It's about a teacher that gets harassed by her students to the point that she ends up snapping and going and turning into a slasher on them. But Joe Bob had an intro on it. Had like a 5-minute intro on it.
It must be from what was the 70s?
Yeah. Well, no, the 89's when this movie came out.
Okay.
This was classic Joe Bob though. Like this was, I would say probably like mid 90s, judging by the way he looked.
Mid 90s.
Yeah.
So it was after his shows were over.
I think so.
Because he did a ton of those in the early 90s. I know that.
It's like you may know it. It's where he goes into this little like closet area, blows the dust off a canister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was one of those.
What was the name of the movie again?
It's Hell High, aka Raging Fury.
Yeah, I'm curious because he did like a big run of releases.
Yeah,
it was made in 87.
Yeah,
I thought you said 89.
89's when it was released, I believe.
Could be. I mean, that's always a fun thing to try and figure out.
At least I think it.
And that was a DVD.
There was the Blu-ray. Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious about when Joe Bob did that because I'm wondering if the original release, because he did a ton of those like grossest movies ever and stuff. where he did an intro. And,
Well, because I remember for the longest time he had, well, not the longest time, but I remember one of the big ones for a while was his commentary or even his little thing on a copy of I Spit on Your Grave.
yeah, well, he did a lot of commentaries, but that was obviously that had to be later in the 90s because,
Yeah, shot in 85, copyrighted in 86, but not released until 89 for
Okay.
Hell High. But watch that. That was a lot of fun. Literally, so the opening of the movie is a backstory of the teacher and why she has like certain trauma. And literally what happens is she's playing in this little woodshed with her doll, goes to hide behind the shed because she hears people coming, and it's this guy and this girl. Dude's wanting to have sex with his girlfriend. She refuses him. So then they exit the shack, and the little girl grabs a bucket of mud, throws it on them while they're riding on his dirt bike. They fly off the dirt bike and get impaled on these fence posts, like gruesomely. And that's the opening of the movie.
So 2004 is when the DVD came out that had the Joe Bob introduction.
Okay.
So that makes it. So that
Yeah.
era, I remember him doing a bunch of little DVD things.
Yeah.
Because there was also a whole era where he was on the beginning of a bunch of VHS tapes.
Mhm.
In fact, one of them I believe was 2000 Maniacs.
Okay.
He did a little intro for it. And that would have been, I want to say that was right at the height of Joe Bob's Drive-In,
Okay.
of his first show,
Yeah.
which is fun. It's so different because I grew up watching only Monster Vision. Because I mean,
That makes sense.
Well, even if I was, I mean, I would have been able to watch Joe Bob's Drive-In,
Yeah.
his original drive-in theater, but we did not have the movie channel around here,
I get that.
so that would not have been an option per
Makes
se.
sense.
But rewatching those now, it's funny because we have the Joe Bob Briggs formats.
Mhm.
You have what I grew up with Monster Vision with the interstitials, which
Yeah.
when you rewatch them, you're kind of blown away that most of the time you got 30 to 60 seconds of Joe Bob. Of course, at the beginning, you might get 3 minutes,
Yeah.
but then you watch drive-in theater and sometimes you get 7, 8, 9 minutes of Joe Bob.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't interrupt the film.
Yeah. He just comes
And then
back.
he comes back at the end, says a few things about that, and then goes into what the next movie's going to be. Sometimes he was showing 3 movies.
Okay. Was
So-
that more? Well, that had to be more so. I'm going to guess that was Drive-In than it was Monster Vision, because Monster Vision wasn't it just 2 usually?
I was talking about drive-in.
Okay.
About
Yeah,
Joe
because it
Bob's
was
drive-in.
the main feature and then Joe Bob's
That's what I'm
last
saying.
call.
Yeah, sometimes they do 3.
I gotcha. Okay.
And so he would do an intro and then the outro, intro, outro kind
Yeah.
of thing. And it was a lot more, it was very like TV.
Mhm.
It wasn't, there was no, what's the word? There was no like standing alone. I mean, he would talk about the time that it was airing,
Yeah.
what was going on in the news. He would talk about what's coming up, which that was really fun too. Cause you're like watching these old archival things and then you're like, God damn, I wish I could find, cause they did like Killer Moms for all of October one time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just more and more and more. And every now and then, like they'd start earlier because he started at 11.
Yeah.
So it would go all night. And they had one part which was VCR theater for people who were
Oh
who were
damn.
not gonna stay awake that late. They
Yeah.
just tape it. So it was cool to see how they were doing it back then. Cause now, we watch them on Shudder, and obviously it's like pretty much a hybrid
Yeah.
of the two. Cause you have, long intros, but then he can interrupt and he can technically go as long as he wants.
Yeah.
And for a while there, he sure did.
Yeah. I mean that one where he showed it was the new. Was it the Halloween episode? It was a Halloween episode that ended with Terror Train, but I can't remember what the first feature was. But that fucker went to like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
because that was one with Tim Capello at the end.
I don't think it went pretty damn close.
It was 4 a.m.
really?
It was 3 or 4 a.m. Yeah, it was late.
Oh wait, but that was Halloween. Did they show more than 2?
No, it was just 2. But Terror Train, for example, I think it's like a 92-minute movie, was literally 2.5 hours long.
Huh? Because I know
Might even been 3, honestly.
I know the only episode that they did twice as long, or that the segments were longer than the movie was Head of the Family.
Yeah.
Because that was a trivia thing at the Jamboree they mentioned.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's been fun to revisit.
But yeah, Hell High, Raging Fury. If you're a slasher fan, late slasher, like I said, came out in 89, was shot in 80 or copyrighted 87 technically. Late slasher film, a lot of fun. Pretty simple as far as slasher terms go, but I thought it was pretty fun overall with just how the storytelling was, and just kind of nice to see later slasher films. You get some good ones, you get some bad ones.
I mean, I guess that's later. I mean, it's because
Well,
it came out in 89. Well,
Yeah.
Here's the question though.
yeah,
It would be if it was shot in like 85-ish,
85,
right?
yeah.
Then it would be more in tone it couldn't have been catching the upswing of like what had happened in 86, 87, 88, 89. So it was actually kind of dead center.
It was kind of
just got released late.
Yeah.
So I mean, I still get what you mean. I mean, well, and just seeing what was happening with slasher movies, it's fun watching those older ones and watching them come to an end.
Yeah.
You can really feel like what was that one? Slayer?
The Slayer.
The Slayer,
Yeah.
sorry. No, The Slayer was the one that James Gunn did, right?
Jesus.
But no, that one's fun, but you could really see like, wow, this is starting to spin its wheels.
Oh, yeah.
The slasher genre.
If I had to compare it to one that you and I like, it's a lot like Death Screams. It's a lot of up front. Here's the death up front. Then we're going to hang out for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. And then we're going to get back into the kills. And now it's over.
See, to me, that sounds like the earlier days when they were, well, and then, because then you also get the slasher movies, and I don't know anything about this specific movie, but then you get those slasher movies that like desperately didn't want to be that at all.
Mm-hmm.
You had the director who was reluctant to do what he wanted.
Yeah.
Or as I call it, you have on one end of the spectrum, those directors who didn't really want to do a slasher movie or what have you. And then on the other side, you have Danny Steinman.
Yeah.
Who makes Friday the 13th Part 5 without seeing any of the other ones and makes it strictly based on the word of mouth of what people love about them. So it's just nonstop murder and boobs.
Yep. It's sleaze and gore. Well, most of the gore was cut, unfortunately.
Still a high body count.
Still high body count. Yeah. Well, high body count and gore. But yeah, I mean, the gore was cut back. But
yeah,
that's how all those were after a certain point.
Well, and I think that the gore element was really a bigger, it kind of hit more as the pendulum was swinging.
Yeah.
Like the mid era.
Well, I mean, basically, if you look at Friday the 13th as a whole, the first four probably the most gruesome of them, because I mean, five is definitely up there, but like 6 doesn't really have a lot because they cut a lot of it out.
Sure.
7 again, like probably
7 would have been the most gruesome.
Would have been the most gruesome, but it was chopped. 8 barely has any gore in it at all, except for like maybe what's his face's head coming off of that one part.
Yeah, but it does have gratuitous Times Square,
and it also does have that shot that I always think is more gruesome than it actually is, with that chick getting stabbed with that, or the guy getting stabbed with the spear gun. It looks like his guts.
Yeah, he gets stabbed with the spear gun, and I always also thought the little rubber tubes that shoot the projectile, I always thought that was guts.
Yeah,
because they were half covered in blood. And because you see what you want to see.
Yeah, there is that. The other one I checked out was from 1980, Harlequin, which is an exploitation film that is about a faith healer that comes into the life of a senator who's got a son that's dealing with leukemia and wins everybody over, especially his wife. And his wife and him start having an affair. And then everybody starts questioning, like, is he actually a faith healer or is he just a complete con man? And it was a lot of fun. Very weird. Very exploitation-esque.
That's weird to me. Like asking, are they a faith healer or are they a con man? That's why I was like, is it a horse or is it a pony? It's like,
is he legit? Because basically,
mean.
Is he legit performing miracles? Because you're supposed to believe that his son is completely healed of leukemia. There's a whole scene where he takes this woman's abscessed tooth and moves it out of her body, down her arm to the tip of her finger, and then chops it off, which is a scare moment of it.
Sure.
David Hemmings is in it from Deep Red. Okay. He plays the senator. But yeah, it was a fun one. It was an odd one. I think it's currently available on Tubi right now because actually getting a physical release is a little difficult. I lucked into one at one of our swap shops over the weekend, but one I've been wanting to see for a while. They talk about it just a bit in Not Quite Hollywood documentary. So it was definitely worth. So those are 2 that I've got to recommend.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. I think about the slasher genre era. Quite a bit because I really feel like the super gory stuff. I never found the Friday movies to be that gory. No. Really. I mean, they're violent.
They were. I think they have that connotation to them because they were that one that came after Halloween and everything that really did have gore, whereas Halloween literally has like one scene that's really like, I guess you could call gruesome-esque.
Yeah. I mean, like, if I was going to say what's a gory slasher movie from the 80s, I would say like Texas Chainsaw 2.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
that's 3. I mean, the uncut version of that's really freaking gory.
I think 2 is a little bit more gory than 2, though, in all honesty.
You think what?
I think 2 is a little bit more gorier than 3, though.
Well, we've never seen 3 in its entirety either. We've seen it somewhat restored, but not fully restored. 2 was always released unrated. So it didn't really, you saw it and it was really, really gory.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing you've seen the deleted scenes of 2 or the work print cut that has even more. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were throwing everything at the wall in that one. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like as far as like slasher films go for like the goriest ones, like The Burning is one that always comes to mind.
Yeah, that one's pretty gory.
I would also say that, oh my God, I'm blanking on the title, but I can picture it. Why am I blanking? This is going to kill me.
Great Dishonor.
I know, Great Dishonor. My God, I'm just blanking on all of them right now. I mean, Final Terror was not really that gory, and that's like a lesser one.
Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp, the uncut version is pretty gruesome.
Yeah, it has some really great payoffs. Really great payoffs.
I would say 2 and 3. 3 had the most gore chopped out of it.
Yeah.
If not all of it.
That scene with the head first down the flagpole.
Yeah.
Had a hell of a moment.
Oh, yeah.
So, I was just starting thinking about it a little bit, about the gore aspect.
Yeah.
Because I never really, to me, like the goriness, the gore hounds, that came from like, as the 80s were wrapping up like the Fulci stuff and some of the Argento stuff was where you really found the gore.
I watched the what is supposed to be the sequel, even though it really has nothing to do with it, to the Giallo film, What Have You Done to Solange? Mm-hmm. And I watched What Have You Done to Their Daughters, which is all about a child prostitute or an underage underage teen prostitute ring that starts getting found out because they find one girl hanging from this rafter that's pregnant. They find this guy that's in a biker suit carrying around a cleaver, taking out these people that are associated with it.
Okay.
And it had some bloody moments and it had some gore moments, but it was more so just a really good crime thriller. But that's what's kind of funny to me.
That's Giallo for you.
I mean, that's the thing is like those Giallo films, like some of those scenes are really intense, but like overall, like they're not, people don't label them as like as that so much. It's more so just going for the aspect of just the tone of the movie more so than the actual violence is what I find.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Giallo was a precursor to the Italian horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that's just kind of, they just kind of started to veer that way.
Yeah.
Especially if you watch like The Psychic.
Oh yeah.
From Fulci, you can like see where he's going to take horror sometime.
Yeah.
When? We'll see. We'll see. You know, it was a little ways away still. Yeah. It's kind of, you know, in that way, Fulci and Hitchcock are kind of alike in today. I mean, like in modern sentiment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people feel like Hitchcock nowadays started with Psycho when in reality he was in his 60s when he made Psycho. I'm pretty sure, or late 50s.
Yeah.
He had all of his Academy Award nominations and stuff were behind him.
Yeah.
He was now into this new realm where that's when he made Psycho and The Birds and a lot of stuff that he's really, really remembered for now.
Yeah. Similarly
with Fulci, it's like by the time he made Zombie, he'd already had almost 30 years behind him of Westerns and comedies and dramas and giallos and tons of giallos. And a lot of people are just like, what?
Yeah.
They're very surprised.
Well, both Argento and Fulci had resumes that included drama films and Westerns and all kinds of stuff before their careers really took off. Sure. Argento had at least, I want to say like 5. Fulci had way more than that.
I was going to say, I mean, Argento like had a 6-year span before that, as to where Fulci had like, I think it was like 25 years.
Well, but also going back to the Hitchcock element and going back to Harlequin is written by Everett de Roche, who also wrote Razorback, Road Games, Patrick. So, I mean, he also embodied Hitchcock in some of those pieces as well.
Sure. I just meant more just in the idea that people kind of think that their careers start when they were actually on their way out.
I don't think people know realize how many films Hitchcock did, because I even just recently looked at his entire resume.
Oh, yeah.
And there's 20 films I really had never even heard of.
Yeah, and there really isn't a stinker.
No.
He was a very talented
Even
director.
his 2 versions of The Man Who Knew Too Much, both great, but both very different and both great.
And then with Fulci, I mean, he had so many movies. A lot of them are totally lost.
Yeah.
They might eventually get rediscovered in Italy, but nobody's going to remaster. Like, I mean, he has, I think there were like his first 7 movies. I mean, they were just for Italian audiences. They were comedies.
Yeah.
They were just not something that people are dying to get a hold of.
Well, I mean, if there is one distributor right now that is going in and cleaning out the mines as best they can find them, it's Severin, because Severin just announced a Lamberto Bava box set that's all these TV movies that never got released because they were too violent.
Well, but that was later in time, wasn't it?
It was later in time.
That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'm just saying, like, it's easier to track those down and know what's going on with them.
Yeah.
Fulci had movies that I wouldn't be surprised there are even a couple that nobody
knows about,
or that just haven't been. I mean, like they haven't been aggregated. Like they're not on Wikipedia or IMDb. But like, you know, if you asked like a film buff in Italy, he'd probably be like, "Oh yeah, he did these 3 or whatever." And they don't have English names either. So I mean, there's no English title. They were never dubbed.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at is the effort to find a Fulci movie that people probably won't like because it's an Italian comedy from the 50s.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's subtitled. So they'll have to make the subtitles. They'll have to do all these things. And that's if they can find the elements, which the elements are probably stored in Rome because Italy does have that incredible, massive film storage place, which I wouldn't be surprised if Mussolini had built because he was such a movie guy.
Yeah.
He was very into film.
Yes.
Oh, that's why Italy had
Has
such
the archive, yeah.
well, and why it had such a burgeoning low budget film, world is because they had so many trained filmmakers that they could just pump them out. But yeah, that's something you got to be careful because you get me on the tirades about Italy, it'll get really weird.
Yeah, I've had those conversations with you at midnight.
Well, I do think it's fascinating.
No,
I think
is.
it's fascinating how Italy would chase all of the global film trends and just make knockoffs after knockoff after knockoff.
Well, I still think to this day that the Italian Polizia films are some of the are the absolute hardest cop films that you can find. Like, I mean, that the way that they handle violence in and of itself, but also just the storytelling that you find in Italian films.
Yeah.
Real fucked up.
It's almost like they grew up under a fascistic government.
It's crazy, right?
And had some good examples.
Well,
of
I just remember you and I watching Live Like a Cop. What is it? Live Like a Man, or fuck,
Live Like a Man, Die Like a Cop.
Die Like a Cop. Yeah, for the first time, and just that opening dirt bike chase that was 10 minutes long and like running over children, running over dogs, shooting women. Like, it was just insane.
Well, you also have to keep in mind that those movies, they had to go crazy because it went both ways. If you made a movie in America that you wanted to appeal to, and still to this case to an extent, that you want to appeal to foreign audiences, then what you see is what you got to give them.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what they want. They don't really understand the nuances of your culture's humor or whatever. They want to know, like, man and woman fall in love, explosion, crash. I mean, those are completely, they translate to everyone.
Yeah.
Italy, similar thing. It was like, if we're going to compete in the marketplace in America, we have to give them all these action pieces and stuff because that's what's doing well in America.
Yeah.
And we got to pull it off cheaper. So, and we got to go harder. I mean, that's without a doubt. I mean, that's why, we love to laugh about canon films and like Menachem Golan and Globus and all them being all, nutsoid and their movies being so weird, but they were from a world where that's what they did in Israel to make movies that would appeal all over the world. Is they would make the movies would be like way too sexual or way too violent. That was just the way they did it.
So you know how he started 21st Century Productions, of course.
Yeah.
Well, not started, but or bought into it.
I just know he became a part of it. Yeah, I don't know the details.
One of his first movies was 1989's Phantom of the Opera with Robert Englund, by the way.
Yes.
Which I showed our mutual friend Celeste this past weekend because we both share the same birthday. And I was looking up the movie trivia while I was reading it. Do you know that he had put so much into the advertising campaign for that movie that when that movie bombed so hard, he didn't have any money left to put out his other two movies. So he had to go borrow more money from distributors to get those other films taken care of.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Not in the least. And just so you know, so 21st Century, it was 21st Century Film Corporation.
Yeah.
It went on until 1989. That's when it looks like Menachem Golan, was it Golan? Yeah. Menachem Golan. He came in and rebranded and owned the studio.
Yeah, because one of their, I don't know if it was one of their first biggest releases before him, but one of the big releases I know is Nightmare, aka Nightmares and a Damaged Brain.
I'm sure that's in here. I mean, I'm looking at like Class Reunion Massacre, Biohazard, Doomed to Die, Prison Ship 2005, Devil Killer, The Working Girls, Sweet Sugar, Don't Open Till Christmas.
Oh yeah,
they put that out.
Yep.
The New York Ripper, they put that out in
Makes
America.
sense.
The Eye of the Evil Dead, which was Manhattan Baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I know that title.
So I mean, they were kind of it was kind of like what they did with Canon. They bought like a little company that had done well enough to keep itself going.
Yeah.
And then Menachem was like, it'll be bigger or it'll go bankrupt. Most likely second. So with that all being said.
Yes, sir.
So our movie tonight was a listener request
by several people. Patrick, Daniel. I mean, there was several people that requested this one through the emails.
And this was one that we saw first run in the theater. It's more recent. It's called Ready or Not.
That is correct. 2019's Ready or Not.
And before we start that,
yes,
what was the party game when you were a kid? What was the party game?
I mean, when I was a kid,
teen, whatever.
I mean, I'll just go ahead and do the easiest one. I remember when Cards Against Humanity took over everything.
Oh, that was your party? That was your party game?
That was, there were usually parties to play Cards Against Humanity.
Well, I could believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when it came out, I was probably like 23 or 24 when it came out. Because before that, we played Apples to Apples,
Yeah.
which is what Cards Against Humanity
I mean,
basically
we
is.
played, it goes by many names, but I knew it as Underground Church because I played it at church lock-ins, but it's like, it's the one where somebody goes and hides, and if you find that person, you hide with them and then wait for everybody else to start finding everyone.
Okay. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember
They call
what
it
it's
Underground
called.
Church. That's a cool
Underground
name.
Church, yeah.
That's a cool name. Well, that's the best part about these party games. A lot of them, who knows what everybody calls it something different. You hide and go seek, hide and seek,
Hide and seek. Yeah.
hide and seek. With the N in there.
Yep.
For me, unfortunately, it's boring. It was hide and seek.
Yeah.
Hide and seek was really popular. We did do freeze tag quite a bit, similar kind of concept.
Yeah.
And flashlight freeze tag. But hide and seek was always kind of the champion.
Hide and seek was always a good one. I always liked Capture the Flag. That was always a big favorite too.
You guys play Capture the Flag
In
like
our
on your own
neighborhood.
time.
Yeah, in our neighborhood.
Who brought the flag?
Or
Or did you just feel like that note paper is a flag?
No, it was we had like a legitimate like flag that was like flag football style. So like we had a couple of those. So that was what we had. And yeah, we had woods behind my friend's house, my friend Nicole's house. So we would play it out in the woods. We would have teams on each side and everything. So we would try it. We would play Capture the Flag no shit for like easily like 3 to 4 hours sometimes.
Wow.
Because we'd get intense with it.
Well, whenever I think of like kid games, I always think of Pete and Pete because they'd play like flashlight tag all night and stuff like that. So, but I just was curious because I didn't have a ton of that going on, but it was almost always hide and seek.
Water balloon fights, Capture the Flag were like the two that always happened usually for outside time.
Did you have that friend who sucked? Like would like cheat or would go like, no, you didn't get me. Get me. Or were you that kid?
I know I was not that kid. I remember I busted our friend Kevin one time, who was Chelsea's brother. He had like 2 flags like stuffed in his pants that were like the same color and like the same type of flags. Because I think we got the flags from him now that I think about it. So it makes sense. He just pocketed a couple. Because I remember he was like, I already won. And I went back and checked and I was like, I see the flag right there. What do you mean?
Oh, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully in the film we're talking about tonight, it's not, everybody plays by the rules.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. Before we get into that, dude, do you want to talk about dangerous animals?
Like snakes or like certain kinds of rabbits or.
So part of my birthday, we went and saw 2 films, one of which was 2025's Dangerous Animals, directed by Sean Byrne, who is the guy that did The Devil's Candy. A movie that I rediscovered recently and actually really like. But
Devil's Candy's really good.
Yeah, Devil's Candy's a lot of fun. But Dangerous Animals, wow, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be great, but I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Shudder original, but theatrical, which they've been doing a lot of since Late Night with the Devil and Arcadia, although Late Night with the Devil was the hit. Arcadia was not. Although I caught it by myself at 10:15 at night in the theater and really enjoyed Arcadia. But so I wasn't expecting a ton from it.
Yeah.
And you were really amped about it. I got really amped about it.
It's got 2 of my favorite things. You got sharks and serial killers.
We had to meet at 8:55 a.m. to catch it.
We did, yeah. Had you not called me, we probably would have missed it.
Probably.
I mean, I was up, but I just didn't. I was expecting 10, not 9.
I mean, who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
But no, it was surprisingly great.
Yeah.
The setting's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Guy takes people on tours to see sharks, and certain people he picks are going to be his victims that he feeds to sharks
while he films it.
so he can
very old VHS camera.
On a wicked old VHS camera, which became so much more of a plot device than you'd think, which I loved.
Yeah.
I loved that there was very little wasted motion. Things were always paying off. I would say that the first half was pretty good, and the middle half it was fine. But man, that third act ties it up with a perfect bow and makes you love it.
Perfect final girl, perfect killer. Jai Courtney, who was playing the killer in this one, who he was Bruce Willis's son in Good Day to Die Hard. We had pointed out some stuff, I know, when we had not done the movie, but that's the only one I can recall. But he embodies a psychopath so well, but also the fact that she calls him out on how much he likes to hear himself talk was one of my favorite things.
Yeah, because I was making that joke to you because we were the only ones in the theater.
Yeah.
So I was making that joke to you too. I was like, my God, does this guy ever shut up? And then she's like, you love the sound of your own voice. I was like, that woman's based.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really fun element. It really worked.
Yeah.
And the only thing that made me laugh was, they have that big thing about like filmed in Australia and all this stuff. And it's like, I just imagine the Australians like, hey, so we don't mind giving you money for, make your movie here, help you out a little bit. But do you think you could maybe make a movie where it isn't about somebody coming here and one of us just murdering the hell out of them?
Yeah.
No.
All
right. Well, we tried.
Yep.
Here's the money. It's like Australia, where you go to die.
I mean, I still want Wolf Creek 3, but I don't think we're ever going to get it at this point. We got the series, and I think that's the closest we'll get to it.
I don't remember the series.
Oh, yeah, we got a Wolf Creek series temporarily. Like, I think we got like 6 episodes, I want to say.
Well, all things are temporary.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. Wolf Creek was a movie I had to come around on. The first one I was just kind of fine with, and then when the second one came out, I rewatched it, and I was like, actually, those are both pretty good flicks.
I haven't seen the second one.
Yeah, second one's
I need to
fun.
check it out.
It's nuts.
Yeah, I've heard only that it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then we saw The Ballerina.
Yes, John Wick, in the world of John Wick, Ballerina, as it's called on IMDb now.
Oh, what? I thought it was the John Wick saga or
From the
some shit.
world of John Wick, Ballerina.
And it was a lot of fun.
It was.
They are definitely really trying to bring you something new yet again.
Yeah.
And kudos to that. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say that thing that they really bring is flamethrower foo.
Oh my God.
They really go for the flamethrower stuff. And in the theater with the giant screen and the surround sound, when those flames light up, the whole room gets bright and you hear the like fire swarms around you. It was a really cool experience. They did a good job of balancing it, because the big problem is with the ballerina jumping around and doing all these impossible to do things. It starts to make it didn't, but it could start to make John Wick, just the character, just feel not that special.
Yeah.
But they actually kind of made that not quite the case.
This is not a spoiler, but basically once they get to the town towards the middle of the movie and you think that things might calm down, they don't.
No,
so,
that was the other thing, which I don't want to spoil, but like that set piece was a really cool element that also helped kind of set it apart.
Very video game-esque. Like that felt like a level in a video game really easily.
You should really watch John Wick is Pain.
Yeah.
Because they talk about how they literally wanted to do stuff like they'd seen in video games in it. And the studio was like, we hate that. And they're like, well, build it anyway. And then they won't be able to say no. But no, so it was really fun.
Yeah.
The casting was solid. It is more of the same.
Well, story-wise, it does come between 3 and 4. That has been a question that people have been asking. You actually do see a couple scenes recreated from 3 to give you perspective on where this is at in the story.
Yeah.
So John Wick is not alive again, technically.
No. I mean, well, we'll see if he gets resurrected.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie ended, but it wasn't the third day. When he rises.
It wasn't. No.
But no, Ballerina was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Yeah. Those two, the Dangerous Animals, Ballerina, both recommended for the theater. If you can, you will have a great time with both of them.
Absolutely.
So we talking about Ready or Not from 2019.
Ollie Ollie Oxenfree.
1 hour and 35 minutes, rated R for violence, bloody images, language throughout, and some drug use.
Yeah. Yeah. All of that's fair.
IMDb synopsis says, a bride's wedding night takes a sinister turn when her eccentric new in-laws force her to take part in a terrifying game.
I don't know if you could nail it any better.
On her wedding night, Grace takes place in a deadly game of hide and seek.
Grace takes place?
Yeah, I don't know why. Takes part.
Okay, I gotcha.
I misspelled that. Misspelled that, used the wrong word. Okay, Grace takes part in a deadly game of hide and seek, unaware that her goal is to survive the night while the rest of the new family hunts her for a sacrifice.
That's pretty good. That one I almost like a little less because it gives away.
Yeah.
Not that it's a huge reveal, but like I love the fact that you really kind of have to figure out what's going on as it's kind of progressing.
So the taglines include for this one, the game begins, a killer game of hide and seek. And then these come after the title, Ready or Not, They're Coming.
That's pretty good.
And then In-Laws Can Be Murder.
That was pretty good too.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, those are all pretty good.
As of this time, Ready or Not is currently rentable on Prime and Fandango, not streaming anywhere that I could find for free.
For the cost of your subscription.
Directors on the film are Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett. They get their start as director and writer in VHS in 2012.
Yeah.
Southbound in 2015.
Okay.
They also directed in between Devil's Due in 2014, Direct Ready or Not in 2019, Scream, aka 5 Cream in 2022, Scream 6 in 2023, and Abigail in 2024.
What was the one before Abigail? Sorry.
Scream 6.
Oh, Scream 6. Yeah. Which I liked all of those movies that you mentioned.
Southbound, I think, is really underrated. I will say that.
I would agree.
Yeah.
It kind of came out. I remember there being buzz. That's why I rented it. I liked it. Abigail's a good movie, but I will say sincerely, because I know you love Abigail and I do too, but Abigail feels like a less effective version of Ready or Not.
Oh,
in
it
a lot
absolutely.
Of ways.
There's several parts in Abigail where it was just an automatic click of, oh yeah, this is totally the Ready or Not guys, because there's repeated actions in both movies. I will say.
Yeah, well, they're stuck in a place.
Yeah,
that's the big one. Is they're stuck in a place and they're hunting something. They just amped up the bad guys.
Yeah,
which, in my opinion, is what made Ready or Not work so well. And I'll go into that a little bit more because I kind of realized something about what's really going on in the movie after watching it again recently. But Abigail was good. It's just, there was so much going on and you couldn't really like stick to it as well.
I've watched it 3 times. I think I watched it 3 times now. And the second time watching it, I will say that I had a lot more. I mean, I already liked it when we saw it in theaters, but I had a lot more fun with it because it feels like for me, it honestly felt like one of the best vampire movies I'd seen in a bit as well too. Like it kind of felt like it made vampires cool again.
I mean, kind of bar's kind of low there.
Just to be. That's just to me. That's not to anybody else. I don't give a shit.
David's saying that's how you had to feel.
But no, moving on to our writer, we have 2 writers on the film. First one being R. Christopher Murphy, who gets his start in 2016 with Minutes Past Midnight. Goes on to write episodes of Stand Against Evil in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Follows it up with Ready or Not in 2019, as well as Castle Rock in 2019 as well. Other writer is Guy Busick, who gets his start in 2006 writing Desire. Writes Watch Over Me in 2006 as well. Urge also writes on Stand Against Evil, Ready or Not, Castle Rock. Then also wrote on Scream, aka 5 Cream in 2022, Scream 6, Abigail, and most recently got screenplay and story credit on Final Destination Bloodlines.
Huh. So it's funny. I literally just a month ago revisited the entire 3 seasons of Stand Against Evil.
Yeah.
I could totally see it. Like
you can see
the
it.
snark is way there.
I can see
in
that.
the right ways.
Yeah.
Although I think that they did a much better job of balancing the humor and the horror. Although, I mean, Ready or Not is not a comedy horror movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a horror movie that has that's very funny.
It has a lot of dark, macabre humor, I would say.
Oh, yeah. It's got plenty of dark humor. It's just, I wouldn't call it a horror comedy because the horrific moments aren't in and of themselves funny.
Mm-mm.
Like you're still worried that people will die and stuff like that. That was the only thing with Stand Against Evil was they didn't do a great job of keeping the threats alive. All the time. It was still a really good show.
What I think I like most about Ready or Not on my recent watch as well is that it has those moments where it's uncomfortable after because something happens. You're just like, shit. Like, it's not like directly funny. It's just like, oh my God. Like,
well, yeah. And just the reactions to the situation, which is fair because the situation is insane.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So moving down to our cinematographer, we also have Brett Jukowitz, who is a DP on the film. He gets his start in 2013 with Towelheads, goes on to shoot Swim Little Fish Swim in 2013, Lily in 2013, Men Go to Battle 2015, The People Connection 2015, Them That Follow in 2019, which was that crazy religious movie.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see it, but I heard it was really good.
Yeah.
Ready or Not in 2019, then goes on to shoot Boogie, Italian Studies, The Black Phone in 2021.
Really?
Follows it up with Scream, aka 5 Cream in 2022. Season 4 episodes of Stranger Things. Does Scream 6 in 2023. VHS 85 in 2023. American Conspiracy, The Octopus Murders in 2024. And most recently, Bad Genius in 2024. He's also going to be shooting Ready or Not, Here I Come.
The sequel.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to.
Moving down
where it's going to go.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting because they don't have a synopsis up yet.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Moving down to the cast, we have Samara Weaving, who plays Grace in the film. She gets her start in 2008 on Out of the Blue, then stars in Mystery Road in 2013, Home and Away, Growing Young, Squirrel Boys, He Who Has It All, Ash vs. Evil Dead in 2016.
Yes, which I'm actually in a rewatch of that right now. And when she popped up, I was like, hey.
Yeah. Follows that up with Bad Girl in 2016.
So that was after that.
That was right after.
I saw Bad Girl in the theater during the Asylum movie special thing they were doing, which was so much fun, but I knew there would never be a second one because almost every show was just me
and Rach.
And maybe Rachel if she was free. But they showed some great stuff.
Bad Girl, Tonight She Comes. Mm-hmm. There's another one you told me about.
They showed a bunch of they showed that one Zombies.
Oh, Zombies. Yeah. I was not a fan of that movie. That and Aquarium of the Dead were 2 movies that promised something that it just did not deliver on.
Well, and there were a few others that they showed as well, but Bad Girl stuck out as being really, really great.
Very good.
Like just a solid taut thriller.
Yeah, not a horror film, just a thriller about a girl that basically imposes on another girl's life and the family is trying to get her away from her.
Well, because she's a bad girl.
Bad girl indeed.
Yeah, but no, I just remembered when I saw Samara Weaving start popping up in other stuff, like mainstream stuff,
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised based
No.
on Bad Girl alone.
Oh, yeah. Well, then she goes on to do Monster Trucks in 2016, a movie I find underrated, but a lot of people hated.
I haven't seen that one.
Mayhem in 2017.
Yes.
Then goes on to do Charlie. She was in the Charlie Puth video for Attention in 2017. Appears in 3 billboards outside of Ebbings, Missouri.
Oh, I don't remember her in that off the top of my
I
head.
think she's what's-his-face's girlfriend.
Yeah, I think you're
the
right.
husband's girlfriend.
I think you're right.
It's either that or she's the daughter. I don't remember, but I feel like the daughter is somebody big, actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Big at that time, not, yeah.
Not physically big.
The Babysitter in 2017. Picnic at Hanging Rock remake in 2018. Follows it up with Ready or Not in 2019. Smilf, Guns Akimbo, which just revisited that recently. She's awesome in that movie.
That's a fun
I got
movie.
to show you that. That was fun.
Yeah, that's a wacky movie.
100% Wolf in 2020. Hollywood in 2020. Last Moment of Clarity. Bill and Ted Face the Music. The Babysitter, Killer Queen, which I still haven't seen.
Really?
Mm-mm.
That was fun.
I need to get on it.
I mean, The Babysitter, I think that's the one that really established her here fully.
Yeah.
Like, just like she was here to stay after that movie because it just kicked so much
Is
ass.
she still a big part in the second one?
That's kind of a
A
spoiler.
spoiler? Okay. That's why I was curious. No Activity in 2021. Snake Eyes in 2021. 9 Perfect Strangers. The Valet. Chevalier. Babylon in 2022. Poor Babylon.
I guess everybody was in that damn thing.
Scream 6 in 2023. One of the best cameos.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that was a great cameo.
LA Snob. Israel. 200% Wolf. Borderline. And most recently, Eeny Meeny in 2025, which I don't believe has released yet, but listen to the synopsis real quick.
I really want to watch Azrael. I kept hearing it was really good.
Same. But the synopsis for Eeny Meeny, this sounds really interesting. So it is, come on, load, damn you. A reformed teenage getaway driver is dragged back into her unsavory past when a former employer offers her a chance to save the life of her chronically unreliable ex-boyfriend. Yeah.
Okay.
Samara Weaving and Steve Zahn.
Who's Steve Zahn?
The guy from Saving Silverman and Joyride, the brother.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So Eeny Meeny in 2025. Moving down to our cast, we also have Adam Brody, who plays Daniel in the film. He gets to start in 1999 with Random Acts of Violence, Growing Up Brady, Undressed, The Amanda Show in 2000, City Guys, Judging Amy, American Pie 2, Once and Again, Family Law, According to Spencer, Smallville in 2002, The Ring, Gilmore Girls, Grind, Grounded for Life in 2004.
He was just a teen actor, like, all the way. Yeah.
Mad TV, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Thank You for Smoking in 2005, The Loop, The 10 in 2007.
Oh yeah. Love that
Smiley
movie.
Face, The OC, In the Land of Women, Jennifer's Body in 2009, Cop Out 2010, Scream 4, The Oranges, Damsel in Distress, Good Vibes, Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, Lovelace, Kroll Show, House of Lies, Welcome to the Jungle, Baggage Claim, New Girl, Life Partners, Think Like a Man in 2014, The Cosmopolitans, The League, Sleeping with Other People, Yoga Hosers, Chips, Big Bear, Hollyweed, Isabel, Startup, Ready or Not in 2019, then goes on to do Shazam, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, Promising Young Woman, Mrs. America, The Kid Detective, Scream, aka Five Cream, My Father's Dragon, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, River Wild remake in 2023, which I haven't seen yet, but I've heard is good. Because I love the River Wild with Meryl Streep, Kevin Bacon. Really good 90s thriller. Then goes on to do American Fiction, The Gutter, Good Cop, Bad Cop, and most recently, Nobody Wants This in 2025.
I've heard Nobody Wants This is good.
I have not seen it yet, but I've heard that same as well. Wrapping us up is Henry Czerny, who plays Tony in the film. He gets a start in 1986 with the Edison Twins, appears in the Friday 13th, the series in 1989.
Oh.
T and T, the short-lived Mr. T show.
Oh. Okay.
It's Top Cops, Street Legal, A Town Torn Apart in 92, The Boys of St. Vincent in 92, Secret Service in 93, Counter-Strike in 93. And then you could say, he's got too much pride because he also stars in 1993, Cold Sweat. That's a joke for you. Only for you.
Oh, pretty much. That's such a deeply, deeply underrated. It's not real. I mean, it barely ticks the boxes to be an erotic thriller, but it's a great movie. And I love Cold Sweat.
I wish they'd bring it back to Netflix. That was a time.
Or just anywhere.
Yeah, or anywhere.
I mean, I don't know if it's really available readily.
I've not checked in a while. Man in Uniform in 93, Lifeline to Victory, Kung Fu the Legend Continues, Clear and Present Danger in 94, When Night is Falling, Notes of the Underground, Mission Impossible Original in 96, The Ice Storm in 97.
Oh yeah.
Yep,
I remember
previous episode. Promise the Moon, Glory and Honor, The Girl Next Door, Mentors, Cement, After Alice, Haven, The Pact, Salem Witch Trials in 2002, Klepto, CSI, The Limit, Kojak, Exorcism Emily Rose, Chaos, The Pink Panther, Ghost Whisperer, Fido in 2006, where he plays the evil guy running the town.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Fifth Patient, The Tudors, Flashpoint, Monk, Ice Castles, The A-Team, Falling Skies, Satisfaction, Revenge, Lego Dimensions, Rosewood, Curse of Buckout Road, Sharp Objects, does Ready or Not in 2019, Supergirl, Schitt's Creek, Scream 6, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Zombie Town in 2023, Our Little Secret, and most recently, Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning.
Oh, wow. I just watched that. I don't remember. There was a lot going on in that movie.
That's what's crazy is he comes back for these last two movies because he's in the first one because he's the guy that basically tells Ethan that he's been burned in the first one. Like when he throws that gum on the glass and that whole wave happens, that's the guy he's talking to.
Okay.
So I think he's like, I don't know if he's like the head of MI6 or who he is exactly. He's like one of the top guys.
Gotcha.
Top men.
So
what was your first time watching Ready or Not?
That is an interesting story. Not really. I mean, it was in the theater.
Yeah.
And it was one of those movies that just kind of all of a sudden we saw commercials for it or trailers for it.
I feel like we caught it opening night. Did we?
It was either opening night or immediately following the opening weekend. We definitely saw it immediately.
Yeah.
And we didn't really know what to expect from it per se, but the trailers looked really fun.
Yeah.
And I just remember being blown away. It was one of those that when it was over, I was like, I might come back and see this in a week.
Yeah.
In the theater again.
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen that often. It's a special moment, especially with genre movies. When one, you haven't heard that much, crazy buzz about or haven't seen that much crazy marketing for, just kind of drops. And it was a modest budget movie for a theatrical release. Yeah. So it comes out, we go see it, and we're just like, holy crap. We were like laughing and hooting and hollering the whole way through it.
Yeah.
And until the end, and then we just walked out going, God damn, that was great.
The ending is what, I mean, I had already liked the movie as we were watching it in the theaters. And then when that ending happens, I was just like, oh shit, this is awesome. Like, this is awesome.
Well, and there are two ways you could do that ending. Well, I mean, two directions you could take that ending.
Yeah.
And for me personally, they took it the least interesting way, except they did it the most interesting way.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I love it because from a story standpoint, I would have preferred it went the other way. I think it could have been more like, whoa, whoa. But having it go the way it did, but the way they executed it.
Yeah.
Is what made it perfect and memorable and made me, when the movie went to credits, I was just like, God damn.
I've got trivia about the original ending and it didn't sound great.
Okay.
So the movie opens as we see two children running from a guy that is behind them, and that one of them is Daniel Lidemos and his brother Alex, and they are inside the family's mansion. And while this is happening, we also go over a bunch of different board games that have is it the labeling of Labale at that point?
Maybe, or was
I think it's Labale. I think,
or was it Dumas? Because their company was Dumas, wasn't it?
Dumas is their name. But LaBelle is the person that we'll get to in the story. But yeah, so there's a wounded man behind them. The kids are running, and finally they catch up. They catch up to this room by themselves, and the one brother, Daniel, hides his brother Alex away. The wounded man comes up to them, and he's like, help me. And that's when Daniel's like, he's in here. And then the family enters wearing all these ridiculous, like, creepy masks, and they're like, oh, we're so proud of you. And they shoot the guy with the spear gun, drag him off, and we see also a woman is crying and pleading for them not to do this. And then they take the man behind the door and shut the door as the mother comes over to Daniel and says, I'm so proud of you. And that's the opening of Ready or Not.
Yeah. She's here, which I like, my guts turned to like being a kid playing that game where you're like, don't sell me out.
Yeah.
Don't sell me out.
So now it is 30 years later, and we see a woman that is Samara Weaving, and she is looking out over this really nice back area of this mansion. They've got this photo shoot they're setting up for. She's having a cigarette and basically talking about the fact that like she's getting married into this family, but doesn't feel like she fits in.
Yeah. Well, because they are very, very wealthy.
Very wealthy. Very wealthy indeed. So
fabulously wealthy.
They are the successful heirs of the Lidemos Family Games Company, and this is going to be a big deal because she is not somebody that fits into their family. She is a foster child, we find out. She doesn't have money, and basically everybody in this family obviously comes from money or has the money that the wealth has brought them from the game company.
Oh, and so from what I could have figured out, the company is not called LaBelle's. It's that they have a game called LaBelle's Gambit.
Gambits, yeah.
And they have a few other like games similar to that, but they're Le Domas.
Le Domas, okay, it is Le Domas.
Because they have the cards, remember? Because it all started with a card game.
Yeah.
And then board games, and then sporting goods, and then sports teams. Yeah.
So all included in the family is Daniel and his wife, Charity. We've got Alex and his cocaine-addicted sister, Emily, and her husband, Fitch, and their young children's, Georgie and Gabe, which they're not here yet.
No. Thank goodness.
They show up late. And then we also have Becky and Tony that are Daniel and Alex's parents, along with Alex's Aunt Helene.
Oh, Aunt Helene.
Aunt Helene's one of my favorites.
She's the funnest because, like, whenever something happens, you're like, hey, where's Aunt Helene? I want to see her reacting to this, too. Because she's got this, like, Don King thing going on with her sticking straight up.
And she's always, like, not frowning, but just, like,
scowling.
No,
she's always scowling.
Always scowling.
And, well, she's got jet black eyebrows.
Yeah.
And super white hair, sticking straight up, constant scowl. She looks like a broke dick dog.
Yeah. That's a good way to put
Not to
that.
get too scientific.
And we should also point out that Becky is played by the great Andy McDowell, who's returning from Groundhog Day. Yep.
Yes.
And so we see that Grace and Becky are sitting on the stoop, and Becky comes out smoking a cigarette. Grace was smoking a cigarette when we met her, and she offers her one, and she's like, oh, I don't smoke.
Yeah, she wants to be as perfect as possible.
Yeah.
Because she's worried about fitting in with the blue bloods.
Yeah.
And she even makes this comment. She's like, oh, worried that your blood isn't as blue as ours. And she kind of laughs for a second. I do like when she's talking to her fiance/husband. At one point, she says, like, afraid that they'll think I just want your money. Or he was like, well, they do.
Yeah.
And she's just like, he's like, what? No, that's just normal.
That's just normal. Yeah.
Like, what do you expect? But I like that because that moment is really funny because he's not going to lie to her. He's not going to be like, no, nobody thinks that. No, that's the first thing people think when you marry into the family. But all you have to do is prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And then it's fine.
So Helene has shot Grace a death glare at this point, and that is when they are all getting ready to gather for the ceremony of the evening. This movie moves pretty quick.
It does move fast. One of the coolest things about this movie is the wedding is such a small part. And we're already past that.
Yeah.
So they're married.
Yeah.
And now it's their wedding night. And of course, I felt so bad for, what's the main character's name? What's
Grace.
For Grace. I felt so bad for her because he tells her, like, we play a game, and she's like, ooh. And it's like, in the game room,
yeah,
we have
with
to
the family.
play. And she's just like,
well, because
okay.
They're trying to get intimate, and that's when Helene comes in, and she's like, hey, we've got the ceremony to stick to. And that's when he has to explain, like, we have to play a game. So they all sit down in this room, and that's when Tony basically tells her that when when their family was just first, like, in the country, like, is it Vincent, I think is the uncle's name? Let me check here.
Well, it doesn't matter. One of the original family patriarchs was on a fishing boat.
Yeah.
Met a strange guy.
Victor Ledemas.
Yeah. And he met a strange guy named LaBelle.
Yeah.
Who collected curios so that he could take them back to America and sell them to wealthy people.
Yeah.
They ended up striking up a friendship, playing cards all the time and drinking and having fun. And one night, LaBelle was like, if you beat me in this card game, I'll invest in any idea you want.
Yeah.
So he won the card game. And then he explains how the family's fortunes grew. Each generation, it got even bigger and bigger. And it's a pretty, like, neat, like, way to kind of set it all up because they're in this room full of board games to choose from. And I do want to mention real quick, there was a little moment where the matriarch of the family mentions to Grace, Becky mentions to Grace, like, bring him back to us.
Yeah.
So we now know he's, like, never around his rich family. Because there were even little parts where she's like, I just don't feel like, I just want to fit in with these people. And he's like, good luck. Yeah. I never felt like that. He's very, like, it's clear he's the black sheep of sorts.
Well, and there's also
of a family full of black sheep.
I was going to say, there's also problems in the family because one of the things that they say during the ceremony before we even get to the wedding is how Fitch and his wife are not there. And, like, he's pissed because he's just like, I can't believe they're not here yet. And then they show up right before the game night and Emily's clearly on coke.
Well, at one point she wipes her nose and she cleans the cocaine out. Yeah, and they mentioned that it was because their normal charter plane wasn't on time.
Wasn't available. So they got their sons Georgie and Gabe as well. And so, like, everybody's sitting down now, and that's when they go over what the game is going to be this evening, which is they have this box Bale gave him, and everybody has to, or every time that somebody joins the family, they have to draw a card from the box, and that's the game they played. Like, What's-Her-Face got to play Old Maid. And
that's every time they marry in.
Every time they marry in, yeah.
So they don't do it to the little kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of them says, we played Old Maid.
Yeah.
What the hell? So the way it works is you take a La Domas playing card, you stick it into the box, and then you press the button, basically. Yep. and it pops out. When I'm wrong, it wasn't a card gamey one. It was if you could solve this puzzle box.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's what they have now is the box that the victor originally solved that started the business or whatever. She pulls out the card, holds it out, and it says hide and seek.
Yes.
And then she goes, hide and seek. Are we really going to play hide and seek?
Yeah.
And everybody
goes quiet.
Dead quiet.
Yeah. So that's when you see Tony kind of being like, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. And he instructs Grace to stay hidden until the dawn. And basically, as she goes to hide, we see that the family just starts arming themselves.
Well, and she even says, like, I can't really win.
I can't win
And he's
this,
like, well, you could stay hidden till dawn. And she just laughs at that idea because she's like, that sounds really boring.
She thinks it's a game entirely.
Well,
it is what it is.
It is a game.
It is a game.
They think it's a game.
My favorite part of this whole scene as she goes to hide, they put on this record that comes back again towards the end of the movie, which is just the hide and seek song. And we just see them arming everybody with guns, except for Fitch and Emily, who appropriately get an axe and a crossbow.
Yes. And they're all being armed because they have to count to 100.
Yeah.
That's her time to hide. They also mentioned that they are disabling the security cameras because they don't allow the games.
Cheat.
Well, they don't allow the games to be played in any way that they couldn't have been played when Victor was alive.
Yeah.
So no security cameras, even their weapons are not modernized. They're all from back in the day.
Yep.
And she goes to hide, and we're learning that generally it's fine.
Yeah.
You get married, you sweat for a little bit, you pull the card, and then it says like chess,
old maid, whatever. Yeah.
But when it's hide and seek, shit is going down. And this is the worst case scenario of what could have happened.
Basically, when you draw hide and seek, that means that you have to hide from the family who is trying to sacrifice you to keep the curse from going upon them, from basically enacting itself.
Yeah. So, and they don't know when it will draw.
Yeah.
Because from what they've said, the last time it drew, her husband and his brother and all, they were all little kids or not even born yet. So it has been probably 30 years since that card has popped up.
Yeah. Well, and we also see that Alex immediately is sitting this out. So Grace doesn't see that happen, but Alex basically tells the family he's going to sit this one out, and the family just goes off on their merry way as the song ends. And now it's time to seek.
Yes. And from here we get a cat and mouse game with a lot of hilarious stupidity.
Yeah.
And this is where I kind of got a new appreciation for what they did with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody else has picked up on this, but as they're hunting and doing hide and seek, they keep accidentally killing the help.
Yeah. She's hiding in the dumbwaiter. One of the help gets shot in the head by Emily. Then another help gets shot with the spear by Emily.
Yeah.
Emily kills
Emily
both
the
of
spear
the
gun
help.
shoots. Yeah. So they keep killing people by accident, and they start killing each other by accident. I mean, it's where else could the movie go?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found amazing about the movie as a whole is these people, this family.
Yeah.
They are all horribly incompetent.
100%.
And at first I took that as just a part of like the comedy, the comedy of like how to keep the story moving. It's like, oh, they're so dumb. Think about it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
They are darkly blessed. They made a deal with the devil basically. And that's what allows them to have all the success. None of them are competent human beings, and none of them have ever had to be competent in anything.
No.
Literally everything is handed to them, because even when you look at like in real life, when you have a family business passed down generation after generation after generation, we all like to think of businesses that got bigger and bigger and bigger, but that's the smallest number. Multi-generational businesses, generally they fail.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, like, so-and-so's son just isn't a good business person or is smart enough to sell it and get out. So in this family, we have like 3 generations of like bringing this business to huge prosperity, but not by any means of their own ability.
Yeah.
They're legitimately stupid.
Yeah.
They can barely dress themselves. And that's what makes this movie so funny, but also kind of like, whoa, when I thought about that, I was like, shit, that's a really interesting point though, is like, they're bad at everything.
They're just bad at everything.
Because they don't have to be good at anything.
Well, one of my favorite things with Fitch's character is he literally pulls up a video to see how the crossbow works, which, by the way, is the directors of the film that are in that instructional video.
I do love that. He's like, how do you even use the thing? So he's looking at YouTube
video.
which is what we'd all do.
Yeah. So by this point, they've killed 2 housekeepers. Grace is trying to get out with Alex's help because Alex intervenes at one point and he basically tells her, I'm going to distract them. I'm going to turn the security system off so you can sneak out.
Yeah. And we should mention, because the place is locked.
Oh, yeah.
Like automatic locks.
Huge house, too.
Yeah. And everything is locked. Windows, doors, everything.
And he admits also that he didn't tell her about it because he feared that she would leave him. So can't imagine why.
She had told him that marriage was like an absolute necessity.
Yeah.
And we found out throughout the first act that she grew up in foster care.
Yep.
And that she had a mixed bag of experiences. She had some good experiences and some bad experiences, but that in the end, what the real problem was that it ends.
Yeah.
And that her whole goal in life was to meet somebody and have a family for once in her life.
Yeah.
So he's not wrong. It sounds to me like she basically gave him like a marriage ultimatum once they had been seeing each other somewhat seriously. So you feel for him because at first, your first instinct is to be like, what a bastard.
Yeah.
Bringing her into this. But it's like all she wanted in the world was to get married and meet his family and have a family be a part of a family. And then on top of that, there was the chance that they would just get gin rummy.
There is that chance. Yeah.
Yeah. Or operation.
But I also love that the game also brings out a concept for the brother Daniel, played by Adam Brody, because he doesn't want to do this shit. He's drinking halfway through this movie, basically.
Oh, he's pretty much drunk from the moment he's around the family.
Yeah, because there's one point where he's even in the study pouring a drink and Grace is in there and he sees her right away and she's like, please don't tell. He's like, I've got to. He's like, but I'll give you like a 10-second head start.
Yeah, I won't say anything for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And she's like, but, and then she just runs and he waits 10 and he says,
he's in here. Yeah. So
I love that too. Yeah, there's all this dichotomy. The family elements are really interesting because you have the people who are tired of this but are going along with it anyway. And then you have the people who are obsessed with this because they truly believe in that curse.
Yeah.
And we find out that if they don't kill her by sunrise, there is a termination clause.
Yeah.
And I love that that's the phrase, termination clause.
Yeah.
But it's of the entire family.
Of the entire family. But also there's that whole thing of they don't know if it's real or not. They don't know if it actually is legit. They're afraid of it, but they don't know if it's real.
But they have had things happen like the one family member who refused to play at all.
Yeah.
He and his wife, who was a part of their family, just woke up dead.
Yeah.
The next day.
I love that waking up dead.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that phrase too.
Yeah.
But then also on top of the waking up dead, then it's like they mentioned like neighbors' houses burned down, but like the truth was much more horrific.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep hearing all these things that are like, they're not certifiable evidence, but it's enough to keep nearly everybody afraid.
Yeah.
And her, husband is telling her like, they've told me about people I never even met who died because they refused. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. And the funniest part too is like the couple who woke up dead. Remember, that's like you refused to just play whatever it was. So he literally was just like, I'm not playing sorry.
Yeah.
And then just woke up dead.
I'm not playing Uno No Mercy.
Oh man, that'd be terrifying. LaBelle must have developed that game.
Probably. So by this point, she's torn her dress to make it easier to run.
And she's in a wedding dress the whole movie, which is one of the best design options. I mean, that cover art with her with the wedding dress, but her running around with this wedding dress that is getting more and more destroyed.
Bloody, destroyed.
She's ripping pieces off.
Yeah.
And by the end of this movie, Samara Weaving is a malted milk dud. She is so burnt out, beat up, bloodified. And she just kills that mentality as she just becomes, because by the end of the film, she's basically just grunting with a knife. Just like, it's so good.
So she's torn her dress by this point, put on tennis shoes, and she's also found a rifle and ammo, and now she's hiding in the kitchen because Alex is watching the cameras. He's trying to get her out the door, but also the housekeeper is there. What's his name? Stevens.
Yes. Yeah.
The butler is there, and he's trying to make tea, and he hears Grace loading the rifle. She gets caught again, and that's when he ends up getting a teapot smashed over his head.
Well, because it turns out that the gun, while the gun is real, that the bullets on the display are just for show.
Oh, yeah.
So she
like, what's his face from Nasty Piece of Work?
Yeah.
Remote control.
Oh, God. Silliest thing ever.
So she smashes the teapot over his head. She gets out the door. Alex gets her out the door, and that's when Tony and Daniel find Alex in the control room and they attack him. So they've got him handcuffed to the bed at this point. He is out of commission
because they realized he was trying to doom the entire family.
Yeah. So that is when she is outside on the roof, and Tony and Helene can hear, Tony can hear Helene talking, and that's when they know that Alex has also basically rejected the tradition at this point. My apologies.
You guys heard it here first. I don't know.
I think that was Sally Mae, unfortunately, again.
I mean, you could silence your phone.
My phone is silenced.
It's your computer. Well, you know, it's the ecosystem.
Yeah,
that you could have silenced.
It is what it is. So that is when Grace is almost out of the house now, and she's spotted by the third maid, and she's hiding in the dumbwaiter. The maid tries to alert everybody, but accidentally turns on the dumbwaiter, crushing herself.
Well, and the worst part is Grace is trying to tell her, like, it's okay, you can come out, I'll hide in there because they're not looking for you.
Yeah.
They're looking for me. And then she's like, she's here.
Yeah.
So it crushes her, makes her blood come out of her mouth. And then I think that was like the last of the help other than Steven.
Yeah, that's the last of the help other than Steven. So by this point now, she's made it outside of the stables, and she sees Georgie, one of the little kids, walking around. For some reason, thinks that he's going to help her, but he ends up shooting her in the hand, which tosses her into the goat pit.
Oh, but I love, first he shoots her in the hand.
Yeah.
She looks at her hand. They have that great like sound of like your ears ringing, you know? And then she just cold cocks
punches
that kid
him right in the face, knocks him out
like
cold.
A 9-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And it's a great moment though, because there's just that moment of like, it's like they let you watch the adrenaline go into her system.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's so good. It's such a great moment.
A goat startles her. She falls into this goat pit, which is actually all the corpses of the past members of the games as well. So now she's in a body pit.
Well, and then we have a reference to the idea that they also sacrifice goats.
Yeah.
Because at one point, her husband is talking about when he was a kid growing up, the thing that scared him wasn't that they were sacrificing goats and chanting. It was that it felt normal.
It felt normal. Yeah. Because he even says, you know, it wasn't that was disturbing. It was that it all felt normal, Mom. Like that's what the problem was. So she tries to climb out, gets her hand impaled by a nail, but she eventually pulls herself up, and that's when she runs back outside, manages to break through the front gate, only to get flagged down, and that is when it's not long after that. Stevens finds her, knocks her out, puts her in the car, and he starts driving off, except he's got the camera in the front of the car the entire time.
Oh, but you missed one of my favorite scenes, though.
What's that?
She steals a car.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah.
And as she's driving away, basically a version of OnStar kicks on saying like, how can I help you?
I forgot about that.
And she's like, help, people are trying to kill me. He's like, oh, okay. We'll call an ambulance. She's like, call the police. He's like, I can do that too. Oh, I'm sorry. The car shows it's been stolen. I have to deactivate it. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it's like, so the car stops. He's like, don't worry. The police are on their way. And she's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
It's just a great moment before then Stevens comes up. And one of the strongest jump scares of the movie, as she's sitting in the car, he just slams his fist right through the window and pulls her. So now she's in the back of the car. He's FaceTiming the family from the dashboard so they can see her waking up. But of course, Stevens is too busy jamming to his opera.
Yes, he is. He is jamming to his classical music, and that's when they see Grace is waking up in the back. They're trying to warn him, but she kicks him twice in the head. The car ends up rolling over into a field, and Stevens is dead, but Grace survives.
Yes.
So she gets out, and Daniel finds her, and you're thinking for a second he's going to let her go, but then he ends up knocking her out, and then you see that Tony, the dad, has been there the entire time as well.
Well, and he's basically made the realization that even if they survive, she's going to leave him.
Yeah.
And that's the moment where he basically reverts to his family.
Yeah. So that's when we got that scene that we were talking about where Becky goes to talk to Alex, and Alex basically tells her that even if they try and kill her, he will try and kill them. Like, he's not going to let this happen.
Yeah. He tells his own mother, like, I'll kill you when this is over.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, okay.
So the family catches up with Grace at this point. She has been placed on an altar to begin the ritual sacrifice, and that's when they pass around this chalice to drink from it, except they all start violently puking.
And it's a great moment, too, because it just it starts happening, and then they're all, like, one by one, they all just start vomiting.
Yeah.
So we figure out that the screw-up drunk brother has poisoned them all.
He has.
And it's really funny when she's like, did you kill them all? He's like, no, they're just sleeping. I looked it up online. They're gonna poop weird. Or they're gonna shit weird for like a week.
So Daniel actually tries to help her out, but while this is happening, Charity finds them, ends up shooting Daniel in the throat. So Daniel goes down. He is dead by this point. Grace fights Charity to get the gun, but the bullets are gone, so she ends up pistol whipping her instead, which I love that.
Oh, that's a great
shot.
moment. Click, and then she's like, as she's about to get her again, and it's like a 357 Magnum.
Yeah.
It's a heavy piece of metal. So when she hits her, it's like, hell yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Very, in that way, whenever Grace is around and defending herself, it has very like Red Eye vibes in that she mostly does what makes sense to the audience.
Yeah.
So it's very satisfying.
Yeah. So by this point, Alex catches up to his brother. He tries to save him, but that doesn't work. So that's when Grace is then found by Becky, who misses her with an arrow. She tries to strangle Grace. Grace pulls the tablecloth down and grabs Bell's box, trying to knock Becky off with it, but she ends up getting bludgeoned with it.
Yeah, she beats her to death with LaBelle's box.
Yeah.
Which is a great, payoff, a great setup. It's very, very, I mean, the movie, it really moves this fast. It's 95 minutes and it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes.
Yeah.
Plus, if we tried to break it down harder, you'd have to remember all these people's names.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, not just you, but I mean, the audience.
The audience, yeah. So Alex comes in, sees that his mom has been bludgeoned. And by this point, he's like, okay, well, since you're probably not going to take me back, I guess now I'm just going to kill you.
I guess I'm just going to go along with it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone
Sad.
continues the ritual now. Grace is tied down once again. And just as Alex is getting ready to plunge the dagger, Grace breaks free from Elaine's grip. And that's when the dagger goes into his shoulder. She gets off the table, holds the dagger towards the family while screaming. And right at this point, we realize the sun is up.
Yes. The sun has now risen entirely.
Yeah.
And they're all standing there scared, looking at the light coming in. And this is such a brilliant moment.
Oh, yeah.
Because now it's all coming home to roost. All the concepts we've been fed throughout this whole movie, it's all here to roost. And as the sunlight hits them, they all kind of close their eyes like afraid.
Waiting.
And then nothing happens.
Nothing
but of course,
happens.
Again, remember what I said about how like they're like the most insufferably ignorant adults? Like they just have no skill of anything. They're also impatient.
Yeah.
Because they're just kind of like, nothing happened. You mean it was all bullshit?
Yeah.
And I love how they like turn to Grace. They're like, nothing's happened. And she's like, "Rrr!"
Yeah.
Because she's like she's like
ready.
She's like a caveman.
Oh,
like
yeah.
she's ready to just
She's
fight
ready to
for life. So
also, while this has happened, fire has now broken out in the mansion as well through the various fights. So the mansion is slowly starting to burn. And
Right.
that's when we also hear a familiar record get thrown back on. And it's the hide and seek song. And I love this because the record's warped because of the heat.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it sounds really murky and everything, but the song's still playing. And so Aunt Helene is just like, well, fuck it. I'm still going to kill you anyway. Charges towards her. And then boom.
she explodes
She
into
explodes.
basically just liquid
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah.
And the reason I love this, as the family begins to all explode one by one, the reason I love this is because overall, would I like if it were me writing it, I would kind of like it to all be not real because that could be like a really mentally woe.
Yeah.
But when it turned out to be real, it could have been done lame. They could have like turned to ashes
Yeah.
or something. Having them just explode is what really makes it work great because
yeah.
it's shocking. It's kind of funny.
It's funny.
Because you're just like,
That's the
wow.
uncomfortable laughter I was talking about. It's
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
that first one
Oh.
when it happened with Helene, it was just like, oh, shit.
Yeah, because you're like, well, hell's bells.
And
There
then
you
the
go.
family just follows in turn. You've got Tony who's like crying that he doesn't want to do this anymore. Charity, she's like, I want to go home. Explode.
Boom. Yeah.
Everybody just starts
her
exploding.
two kids explode off
Yeah.
screen, but they like go through the doorway and then you see bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
3 of them explode all
So
in a
the
row.
only one left now is Alex as he's facing off with Grace. And he's like, I'm sorry. I didn't want to kill you. And she's like, yeah, I didn't want to fucking die.
Yeah, I love that line.
So he's asking for her forgiveness. She just takes her ring off, throws it at him. And as soon as the ring bounces
and she
off
says,
of
I
him,
want a divorce.
I want a divorce.
And it hits
Yeah.
him with it. Yeah.
As soon as the ring bounces off of him, he just blows up right in front of her.
Which made me wonder if the actual deal was they both could have lived
If she hadn't done
they
that.
were married.
yeah.
That would have allowed
It's a
them
nice
to,
touch.
to live. I don't know, or it could have just been the weird timing of their explosions. Because
Yeah.
at first, when the old ant explodes, you're like, oh, maybe it's like senior most downward.
Yeah.
But then they just start
Just
popping
goes all
off
over
and
the
popping
place.
off.
Yeah.
So it's that did make me wonder. But regardless, the timing is beautiful for it. He explodes. She gets splashed in the face yet again with blood.
Yeah.
And the way they play up her just standing there with the blood in her face, like, and then they hear the sirens coming from a distance.
Well, you forgot the best part. Flames kick up in a chair at the head of the table, and we see a very quick shot of LaBelle who just nods at her and then fires away, and she goes, fuck.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. So then as she hears the sirens wailing off in the distance, she goes out to the front step,
Yeah.
sits down in her bloody wedding dress, gets us. Oh, and on her way out, she grabs the pack of cigarettes from the dead
From Becky. Yeah.
She lights up a cigarette and just smokes it like with a shaky hand covered in blood as the police lights light up. And that.
Well, the cop walks up.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And he goes, he goes, what the hell happened here? She takes a puff off the cigarette, blows the smoke, and goes, in-laws. And that is 2019's Ready or Not.
And that's such a memorable image, her on the stoop with the cigarette. I've seen that in so many memes.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. No, it's a very, very popular one. So would you like to guess? Oh, I was wrong, actually. Would you like to guess what the budget was?
12?
6.
6? Oh, wow. It was okay because I thought it was 8. Well, you said 8
I said
earlier.
it was 8, yeah.
6, that's a very low. I thought it was really reasonably low.
Yes, $6 million is the budget. Opening weekend, which is August 25th of 2019, it makes $8 million, grossing in the U.S. and Canada $28 million. Going on to gross worldwide, $57 million. That's
a really great hit.
Yeah, big hit. So principal photography began on October 15th, 2018 and concluded on November 19th of 2018. The 35-day shoot took place at locations around Toronto, Ontario area, including Casa Loma, Sunnybrook Park, and Clareville Conservation Area, as well as the Parkwood Estate in Oshawa, Ontario.
Wow.
A lot of the film was filmed at Casa Loma, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It is a designated heritage property and is a museum that is open to the public. You can take tours of the building and learn about its history. You can even walk through some of the secret passages. Many movies were filmed there, including Crimson Peak from 2015, The Pacifier from 2005, X-Men from 2000. Exterior shots of the mansion from the film were from Parkwood Estates in Oshawa, Ontario, which are the same estate grounds used in Billy Madison in 1995. The Goat Pit was the only set built for this film.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the bedroom is part of Casa Loma preservation, meaning not only were they not allowed to light any candles, but they also couldn't touch half the furniture or decorations.
Oh my God.
LaBelle means lease agreement in French. Mr. LaBelle allows the family their wealth.
I do love that one part where the head of the family, where he just turns to the picture of Victor and he goes, couldn't you have negotiated better terms?
Yeah.
Like maybe not a family termination clause. I love that moment too.
They submitted nearly 200 fictional board game names, but only 8 or so were cleared by the legal department. The games in the cabinet are Family Ritual, Secret Council, LaBelle's Gambit, Sunrise, and Abracadabra.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Pretty solid choices.
The first long shot of the two kids running through the hallways are actually 3 shots with 2 cuts edited when the 2 kids turn a corner and the image goes dark.
I love that opening too.
Oh,
it
yeah.
really gets you kind of like amped
for it, yeah. The montage of the family preparing and donning their robes in the lead up to sacrificing Grace originally showed Daniel drinking more, but Brody wisely suggested a take where he goes the opposite direction and is clearly sobering up instead. That's the one they ended up going with.
Nice. Okay.
Margot Robbie was considered for the role of Grace before Samara Weaving was cast. The two actresses are noted for their similar physical appearance, being of similar age, and both being Australians.
Yeah, that okay, Samara's Australian. I didn't know if she was Australian or if she was a Kiwi.
Yeah.
So, but I could see Margot Robbie, but I could see they couldn't afford her to save their lives.
By this point, yeah. Because I think by this point she had done Suicide Squad.
She was a huge name.
Yeah.
I mean, for a $6 million movie, I mean, you'd have to be Blumhouse to get Margot Robbie on that low budget.
Grace's shivering in the photo shoot scenes wasn't performative. In the commentary, Samara Weaving mentioned that it was cold when they were shooting that scene, hence her shivering, but it worked to make her look more convincingly nervous, something Weaving herself admitted.
I believe that. I mean, it's Canada.
Yeah. Samara Weaving, by the way, the niece of Hugo Weaving.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. During the wedding photos, Charity tells Daniel that Grace will never be a part of the family. Daniel replies, of course not. She has a soul. At the time, this seems like a slight against his wife and family. Later, it is revealed that the members of the family have sold their souls to Mr. LaBelle.
That's a good point.
It is heavily implied that Grace is rejected by Mr. LaBelle for 2 reasons. One, because her motive for marrying Alex was indeed love and not just money. Grace's soul would be more difficult to attain. It is also mentioned that both Charity and Fitch had no issue selling their souls in exchange for materials, whereas Grace longed for a family. 2, Helene draws comparison between herself and Alex, both resisting their destiny by trying to leave the family only for Mr. LaBelle to reject their spouses, forcing them to stay. Mr. LaBelle may have sensed that Grace's innocence and purity would lure Alex away from continuing the tradition and disown his family.
Oh, how did you say she was related to Hugo Weaving?
Niece.
Okay, I thought that's what it said.
Yeah.
You said, but I want to make sure because I was curious to get a picture of him, and then I saw niece. I want to make sure. It said niece. That's wild.
The MPAA requested they translate the Latin used during the sacrificial ceremony so they could properly rate the film.
well.
Yeah. 17 different versions of Grace's wedding dress were created by costume designer Avery Plews to show the progress of Grace's night and how her clothes corresponded to her attitude.
They did a phenomenal
Fantastic job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Samara Weaving had to be taught how to drive, or at least how to look like she's driving.
Oh, wow.
The goat that jumps out and scares Grace into falling down the well was originally planned as a puppet, but when they shot the first take of the puppet, they realized that that was a bad idea. Thankfully, the goat wranglers were so down.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, the puppet probably looked silly.
Yeah. The pepperbox revolver wielded by Emily has been the version of the gun weapon in the North American edition of the board game Clue since 1972. It was adopted by the European Cluedo edition in 1996.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah. Elise Levesque, who plays Czerny in the film, said in the behind the scenes of the film that she had no idea how to hold a spear gun, and no one told her if she was doing it right or not. Given that all the Lamas are supposed to be airheads with no idea what they're doing, not telling her how to hold the spear gun was probably the best move.
I agree, because that's my favorite part after watching it again was realizing that it makes perfect sense that they're all so incompetent.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it really is perfect.
Yeah.
It's so perfect.
Alex has a heart-shaped bloodstain right over his chest where his heart is before he dies.
Aww.
In the film Jennifer's Body from 2009, Adam Brody portrayed a cult member in a band that killed Jennifer as a sacrifice, offering to Satan in exchange for wealth and fame. About a decade later, the character he plays in Ready or Not has similar but less enthusiastic motives to renew the original deal with his ancestor has made with Satan for wealth and success to his family's board game company.
That's an interesting connection.
Yeah. Within Leviathan Satanism, the term Shementorash is used for during rituals as outlined in the Satanic Bible. The term is essentially an equivalent of hallelujah in the sense that it is taken to mean hail Satan when used in the context to corroborate with Leviathan's Satanism's objective of satirizing traditional religious practice.
Read that all over again for me one more time.
Gonna say no. Gonna have to say goodnight. Grace originally dies in the earlier draft of the script after being successfully sacrificed by Alex and his family, but producers changed it to Grace surviving and her in-laws, including Alex, being killed after failing to complete the ritual before dawn.
That's a weird choice.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd have to do it in an interesting way because otherwise that's just a downer.
Yeah. And finally, Helene tells Tony that when Alex was a child, he once saw Mr. LaBelle sitting in his chair in the family ceremony room. Grace sees him as well when she's left as the only survivor after LaBelle's wrath.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what are your final thoughts on 2019's Ready or Not?
Ah, man. I initially was going to say stream it or not stream it, rent it. But every time I watch it, I just go, God damn, what a good movie.
It's a lot of fun.
I think it's an own it. If you're a movie lover, it's worth owning because it's such a fun ride. Great performances. Samara Weaving really gets to own. I mean, she owns every single scene because she goes from being a blushing bride to, for real, I mean, I literally just finished watching it. She's literally grunting like a caveman at the end, and you believe it.
Yeah.
She does everything in between. It's so good.
No, it's so good. Yeah, it's going to be a buy it for me as well. This is one of the, I would say, top horror films that came out of the 2010s. Like, this is one that has stuck with me. I've probably seen it like 4 or 5 times now at this point. It just gets fun more and more. It just gets fun the more you watch it because you pick up on little things. There's also just a lot of snarky dialogue thrown in that has a lot of meaning to it as you go through.
And it came out of nowhere. That movie just, it just all of a sudden it was like, and here's this little movie. And we were just like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we always like to end the show with a couple of recommendations. The first one I have this week is 1997's Body Count.
Fuck you.
AKA Below Utopia, currently rentable on Prime and Fandango. The seemingly idyllic Simpson family gathers for Thanksgiving, but when a pack of killers shows up, their bickering takes a back seat.
And I only say fuck you because that would have totally been my pick.
That's fair.
I've been a big booster of Below Utopia for a very long time. I consider it a highly underrated thriller.
Yeah.
And also a perfect change of pace as far as Thanksgiving movies. I mean, although Thanksgiving's a small part of it, it's really just family.
Yeah.
But that's a really fun, really underseen film. I'm so glad. I mean, when I was first watching it, you couldn't rent it anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to own the DVD.
And according to IMDb, it just says, buy it on Prime, like buy the disc because it's under, I think, Below Utopia, whereas on Prime it's
on Body Count
now.
now. Yeah, which I think they might have done that because Ice-T was in it to try and like get it to sell faster.
That does make sense, actually.
No, totally. I mean, because like it says Body Count, it's just, Ice-T and what's her
Alyssa
name?
Milano.
Alyssa Milano on the
Yeah.
front. So yeah.
Also, the second recommendation is going to be Would You Rather from 2012. I've recommended this on the show before, but this is perfect as it is a dark game night at a house. Currently streamable on AMC Plus, rentable on Prime and Fandango. Desperate to help her ailing brother, a young woman unknowingly agrees to compete in a deadly game of Would You Rather, hosted by a sadistic aristocrat played by the great Jeffrey Combs.
And just mentioning Jeffrey Combs, by the way, we had a clip when I talked about Combs a few weeks back. It's one of our only TikToks to reach like 10,000 views.
Shit.
And everybody is talking about Jeffrey Combs in it. Although they all the same question, which was, well, if you play two characters, does that mean you make twice as much money? And I was like, well, yeah, because he had to be there twice as much.
Yeah.
So yes. And like, they'd be like, but I mean, did he get paid extra for being the character? It's like, well, he had to work more.
Yeah.
So yes, like that's how it works. But no, that Would You Rather so much fun. Such a great example of later Jeffrey Combs' performance.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he went so heavy into voice work, by the early 2000s, you don't really see him as much.
Well, I think like one of his like last major horror films, as far as like blockbuster style goes, would be House on Haunted Hill, where he played the crazy doctor.
Yeah, which
I
was great.
think came back for Return, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's in both. Yeah, no, it was great. But yeah, so it's so nice to see him kind of return to form in Would You Rather.
Absolutely.
That's definitely one I would recommend as well.
Yeah. What's your recommendation, sir?
Well, Dave, when you stole my perfect one, I decided I'm not going to go obvious, because you even said I assumed you were going to pick these ones.
Well, I figured you pick The Hunt or Your Next.
Yeah, Your Next. Well, to me, Your Next is just like millennial Below Utopia.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
To an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a horror movie, though. Below Utopia is a thriller, not really a horror movie. So I went with the theme of the person you love not being exactly what you think they are.
Oh, Big Mama's House?
2. Big Mama's House 2.
Oh, Big Mama, like father, like son.
Yes. No.
That's the third one,
So
actually.
I picked a film that I don't know if you've seen, but that I saw, and it sincerely blew me away, from 2018, and it's What Keeps You Alive.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
You need to watch it, David. It's really, really good.
Okay.
The synopsis is: majestic mountains, a still lake, and venomous betrayal engulfs a married couple attempting to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. That movie, I caught it randomly on Netflix. It's not on there anymore, unfortunately. It's on AMC Plus right now, as well as Tubi. And you can rent it on Prime. It's that your jaw will be on the ground at the end. That's why it stayed with me for a really long time. It's super, super good. The twists are great. The dichotomy of the married couple is like nothing I had seen depicted in a movie in a very, very long time. It's really worth your time.
So since this is a movie show, I do want to point out one that it's not necessarily a recommendation, but one I wanted to tell you about because I got it over the weekend at Huber Music and Video. Firstborn from 1984, starring Corey Feldman, Terry Garr, and Peter Weller. Or Corey Haim, excuse me.
Oh, jeez.
Teenager must protect his family when his mother's sinister new boyfriend begins exerting his authority in their home. And Peter Weller is the boyfriend, obviously.
Of course.
I have not seen this, but this looks awesome, and I got the Blu-ray recently.
I saw it on cable.
Okay.
Because he was younger.
Yeah.
He just like kind of moves into the house and starts.
Yeah. This is 3 years before
everybody.
RoboCop.
He's like bullying everybody.
Yeah.
But it like gets psychotic. That's a great film. I'd love to revisit that. You should bring it over.
I shall.
Once my crazy things are done, we should really do a Sunday.
No, we
and just
absolutely
watch
should.
some movies or something.
So, do we have any emails this week, good sir?
We are maggoty with emails. We have 3 emails. If you want to email us, by the way, you can head to doyouevenmovie.com or email us at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. We love to hear your suggestions, your thoughts, etc. This first one is from our good buddy Skunk.
Oh, awesome. I haven't heard in a while.
And I did reply to this ahead of time because the subject was Evolver, ? And then also some suggestions.
Yeah.
So I did skim this one because at first I thought it wasn't just for the show. I mean, it's not just for the show.
Yeah.
So he said, hey, Henrique and Double D, I just finished listening to the Wishmaster episode and did I hear you right, Henrique? Did you say you have an Evolver poster?
He does.
The reason I opened it was I sent him a picture of the other side of the studio so he could see the Evolver poster. And his reply was, no way, that's so freaking cool. And I didn't even all I made sure was it was lit so you can see all the lights and stuff up against it because this room is, it's a little full.
It's a little cramped.
Oh yeah. Well, let's build a studio at your place then. But anyway, so beyond that, man, if you do, that's rad as hell. One of my all-time favorite schlocky slashers. like a Sci-Fi Channel mashup of Arcade, which also has Q, aka John DeLance, in it, and Chopping Mall. I happen to have an Arcade poster my friend got me, but to have an Evolver one to go with it and my Nightmare 5 one I still need to frame would be sick.
Completely forgot about Arcade.
Oh, Arcade's fun.
Arcade's fun.
Yeah. That and the brain scan shout out, honestly, got me thinking about some films I'm sure you guys love or would love that you haven't covered yet. Or if you have, I somehow missed those episodes. My bad. The aforementioned Evolver, Arcade, and Chopping Mall, of course, but also Death Machine. Virtuosity.
I do love me some Death Machine and Virtuosity.
Virtuosity is one I watched on cable so many times as a kid. I would love to revisit it.
Yeah.
Ghost in the Machine.
Ghost in the Machine's great.
And they said, surprised that didn't come up during your Final Destination episode, actually.
Yeah. Ghost in the Machine's a good one.
Man, I would love to hear you guys talk about all of those movies. I seem to have a bit of a fascination with sci-fi horror, especially stuff with virtual reality and robots.
Ooh.
Probably explains my love for Lawnmower Man, Terminator, Matrix, etc. We should definitely do Virtuosity at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we could do all of those, but Virtuosity is one that I have like a lot of childhood nostalgia for. Evolver would be fun, although most people are like, what? Chopping Mall would be a fun one.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love hearing the pre-movie talk before the show. Getting these deep dives into your personal lives is what made Welcome to Prime Time more than just a podcast about Freddy's nightmares. Anyway, anyone can wax on about a TV show. You guys brought heart to it. Thanks for keeping us entertained, Skunk.
Awesome, Skunk.
Thank you, Skunk. That was a great email, and I'm glad I could blow your mind with my. I have so many posters like Evolver.
Yeah, you do.
And most of them, I'm actually getting ready to organize them so I can store them properly because I do not have enough walls. But yeah, I have a ton of those.
Yeah.
So this next one is from my buddy, Madan.
Okay.
He is the director of sales at Bobbletopia.com, who sent us the awesome bobblehead of, we have a Freddy and of course the Wright brothers, which the Wright brothers one, they actually made themselves. It's like they didn't like wholesale it. They built that one.
Yeah.
If you ever need a bobblehead, you head to Bobbletopia.com. They also support the Weekly Spooky podcast, and I'm always thankful.
Hell yeah.
So this one might be a little, I skimmed it real quick.
Okay.
This one, I'll do my best on off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I was listening to the episode on Wishmaster, great by the way, and I was fascinated by some of the tricks of the movie business. For example, bad guys never blink, which adds to their villainness.
Yep.
Some actors scream for 20 minutes to make their voices hoarse.
Mm-hmm.
Other actors drink protein shakes to change their voices. During eating scenes, actors will spit out the food after each scene. 10 to 30 takes of eating a sandwich adds up. Anyway, I'm curious about many of the other tricks Hollywood does that we don't think about. I'd love to hear more of these. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, I have one off the top of my head, which is using water. So this is a trick that once it was pointed out to me, I was like, oh my God, I see it everywhere.
Yeah.
And that is water, not for rain, not for snow, but next time you're watching a movie and there's a nighttime exterior of a parking lot, you'll notice almost always, even though it's supposed to be in like California or Nevada or the desert, it's going to be wet.
Yeah.
Because when you wet a black surface, it reflects, and that allows light to reflect, and it gives the space more light, basically, so that the light doesn't just disappear into the asphalt. So wetting asphalt is a Hollywood trick I have heard about many, many times that I don't think people talk about nearly enough. I did watch one years ago, like camera tips video that said using water is a great trick, but that is a very common Hollywood trick.
Two that I've noticed since working on your sets that I've seen in other movies are shower scenes will usually hang a shower curtain on the back wall to make it look like they are shooting inside of the shower.
Yeah, that's when you don't have the budget for, to build a set.
A set. And the other one is the same thing essentially, is if they have somebody in a passenger seat, they usually have them in the back seat and they're shooting out the window.
That's a Jim Wynorski trick. That I learned.
That makes sense.
I learned that one on a Jim Wynorski commentary track. Yeah, basically you have your camera pointed at somebody in the driver's seat and you're in the passenger seat, but then when you have to flip around, you can't sit in the driver's seat. So it works especially well in SUVs because they have big windows. So then you sit in the back seat and have the passenger on the passenger side in the back seat so you can show the window going through. We use that trick in a bunch of movies, Babysitter Massacre, Haunted House of Sorority Row, because it's so much faster than having to rig something and then worry about your camera hanging off of a car. That's a good one. The trick with putting the shower curtain against the wall for a shower scene, I actually learned that from the commentary track on American Nightmare.
Yeah.
That's how I first learned that trick. Another trick, if actors need to cry and they need their eyes to get all, they have to cry a lot, putting Vicks VapoRub underneath your eyelids will irritate your eyes and get you that puffy look.
Yep.
The only negative is it stops working after about an hour.
Yeah.
If you keep reapplying it, eventually you'll be like, it just feels like I'm putting Vaseline on because your eyes get used to it.
You turn into Mary Lee.
Yeah, I mean, I used to keep a jar when we were doing the horror movie stuff. I would always keep a jar of Vicks Vapor Rub in my pocket of my vest, and when I pull it out, I say it's instant acting in a jar.
Yeah,
just when you need it.
The other one I've always loved because I mean it's so simple when you think about it is driving. When you're showing driving, you literally have somebody taking a light and running it over their head, over this side, over that side.
moving. And there are a million ways you can do that.
Yeah.
You can also put a light on an arm and spin it.
Yep.
Another trick. Similar, but if you're in an interior that's supposed to be like on a busy road, like a diner or something, you can take a giant reflector that's basically a mirror and slowly spin it so that every so often light passes as if it's like cars passing and catching light. The first time I saw that and understood how it was done was on Eddie Presley. That's how they did it in all their diner scenes. You notice every now and then a little
that makes sense.
light would flicker by.
Yeah.
So that one works really well.
Another one is Fred Olen Ray said in his book basically that when it was coming to the sci-fi movies that he was doing, he would just scour the sides of roads for like old radiators, old AC units, anything that he could spray paint, dust off, or just basically mount to a wall will give an impression to a sci-fi movie depending on what it looks. Basically,
texture, technology, and texture. That's how you make dystopian films.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a bunch of, I mean, famously, James Cameron used McDonald's containers.
Containers.
It was burger containers back when they were styrofoam, and he'd paint them. And depending on what paint you use, it'll also kind of melt them a little and make them look really worn out and stuff. Lots of stuff can be made out of literal garbage.
Yeah.
Another one, I was trying to think because the problem is coming up with all these off the top of my head, because I have a massive, it's one of the reasons I get hired as a set producer so often is I have a big toolkit of like little tricks that work for small things.
Yeah.
You know, so that you could be like, oh man, how do we do this? And I could be like, actually, I've done it before. I know how. Like one time I was working on a movie and the prop, they had these gas powered like bullet hits that were going under your shirt that would shoot out, and they didn't work.
Yeah.
They just would not work. And they were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We have to shoot these like, it was a zombie thing. And they were like, we have to shoot these like 5 more, whatever. And I went to one of the PAs and I said, go down to that gas station right there and buy me 3 dozen eggs. So we went down to the gas station, got them, came back. And literally I was just doing this at the side while they were trying to figure out what to do. It's a thing called blowing an egg.
Yeah.
You poke a big hole on the bottom and a little hole on the top, and all the egg stuff comes out. Then you put a piece of tape or latex over the little hole, fill the big hole with blood, tape that too, and you throw it at the actors as hard as you can.
Yeah.
And you cut right when it explodes. And it looks like a gun hit. That's a trick I've used a ton, and it works really well.
For the most part.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to try several times.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with reversing a shot. Like if you have a knife going into somebody and you want to get the blade going in, you do the
Well, if you want to have
out.
something unsafe, like you want the blade to be going right to their face, you can do it in reverse.
Yeah.
Reverse motion is a great way to do things safely.
Yeah.
We've done that with like if you wanted to have like something that's very heavy and it has weight and you want it to be going right to someone's head, but you want to stop before you see the impact, pull it away.
Yeah.
Really quick, and then it'll come right at them. The trick is to not use too much of it, or you'll start to notice the inertia doesn't make sense anymore.
Water works for gasoline. That's another good one.
Yeah, water is a great replacement for gasoline. It's also vodka. It works great as vodka in movies.
Tea's great as whiskey.
Tea works great unless you shake it, because then you'll see the bubbles, and that always gives away. I can always see in movies, I'll be like, that whiskey is definitely tea.
Yeah.
And to save time and money, you can just get the tea packet, the little like tea drink mixes, you know, that you're supposed to pour in a bottle of water. You know, one of those will make a whole whiskey bottle look like it's full of whiskey.
What's the one you told me about the difference of bloods? Because there's a thicker blood that you can do with the corn syrup one.
Oh, well, there are a few things with blood. If you have blood that's too thick, the fastest way to thin it out, if it's not getting in people's mouths, is to add Dove soap.
Okay.
Because it will thin it.
Yeah.
Like really well, but it'll stay viscous and sticky so that you can pump it through a tube, because when you water it down, it loses a lot of its oomph.
Look.
It does.
Yeah.
But the other thing is mixing soap into fake blood is a great way to help clean up later, because it'll make the blood clean up way better when there's soap in it.
Yeah.
So usually on a set, if you're mixing your own blood, there'll be a big thing of blood, and then there'll be a small bottle that'll say mouth on it. And that's the one that doesn't have anything toxic. Because if you mix your own fake blood, also you'll have stuff like photo flow in it, which will make you vomit and have diarrhea at the same time if you consume enough of it.
Yeah.
So
I would also say with that, if you have a blood cannon and or a blood fire extinguisher, you cannot test it and then use it again.
No, it'll run out of air. Also, if you take a blood cannon, which is just a water fire extinguisher, and you put it at the full 100 PSI it's meant to be stored at, the blood will spray so fast that it won't photograph.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way. We were filming and I hit it, and literally you don't see any blood in the air. You just see the wall become red instantly. So more like 30 PSI, but you can also do other things like add a tube to it to kind of weaken the power and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But yeah, always have a bike pump handy if you're doing blood effects. I'm trying to think if there's anything that isn't special effects related that really can make a difference on a set.
I mean, they, as we pointed out on the show many times, they cheat a lot of places as locations. So if you can find a location that looks like a location, you can fake it pretty well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, the number one thing you want to do on any movie is avoid what are called company moves.
Yeah.
And that's where the entire production has to go somewhere else, because that means packing things up, everybody's driving separately. You run the risk of like, there could be a car accident and now you're losing hours. And especially in a really low budget movie, a company move can wreck your day.
Yeah.
So when possible, even if you're filming at one house, you can film in every single room in the house and then use establishing shots of different places and make one house into sometimes 5 or 6 houses if you have enough rooms. Those are the little things. I'm sure I could think of more, but those are just off the top of my head.
Those are good.
They're not bad. So we got one more.
All right.
And then we'll wrap this up. This is from our buddy Maurice, who we just saw.
Awesome.
He was in town.
Yes.
He says, I felt bad that you had no emails last week. Now you have one. You're welcome. Talk to you later. On a more serious note, great episode last week. Karate Kid is one of my all-time favorites. And with Gladiator getting a mention, it dawned on me that you should talk about that sometime.
I would love to. Gladiator I talked about it last week on the show. Recent discovery from the same guy that shot Karate Kid, shot Gladiator, 1992 boxing movie, the Cuba Gooding Jr. and James Marshall. Really, really good flick.
I don't think I've seen it.
You haven't.
I would love to.
Yeah, so say you haven't. We'll definitely talk about that.
He says, it's an underrated movie that has gone largely forgotten, and I think that's a crime. People who don't know that of that movie need to be arrested. Ouch. Okay, maybe that's a bit harsh, but it could benefit from a Blu-ray or 4K release.
It absolutely could. It only has a DVD release so far, so I got it on digital. You can get HDX, but yeah.
Well, we'll check. I'll definitely have to check that out.
It's good.
So with all that being said, if you want to email us again, it's at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com.
Would you like to know what we are wrapping up listener request month with?
Make it quick so we can go see that weird Australian movie.
That's fair. So we are doing probably one of our most recommended since the start of the show, because people who know us know we love this movie. We're talking about 1994's Surviving the Game.
Oh my God. I
to
love that
close
movie
out listener
so
request
much.
month.
You talk about a friggin' movie I love.
And just recently got a Blu-ray release last year that's gorgeous.
I love that movie so much. I have so much to say.
On Prime and Fandango. We will talk all about it next week. If you have not seen Surviving the Game, if there is an episode that we want you to watch the movie before you listen to it, it is this one.
Yeah. I mean,
Treat
so many
yourself.
memorable moments. So
treat yourself.
John C. McGinley being a badass as always.
Rutger Hauer. Yeah.
Oh my God. No, it's a character actor's dream, and then Ice-T is the icing on the cake.
I would say.
So with that all being said, my friends, make sure you sign a prenup, and we will see you all next week with that, with Surviving the Game. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcasting apps. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Yes.
Leave a comment. We love to hear from you. But until next time, I guess we'll see you next game night.
Or hide and seek.
Next hide and seek. You know what? I'll give you that one, but just this one.
Here, 10-second head start. I'm just going to run, okay?
Okay. 10.